Welcome to this episode of And So It Flows. I'm your host, Nicole Krawcke, Chief Editor of Plumbing and Mechanical and PM Engineer magazines. Today's topic of discussion is the Inflation Reduction Act, also known as the IRA, and the opportunities and challenges it presents plumbing and HVAC contractors. We're joined by Chris Hunter, a former contractor and current Director of Customer Relations for ServiceTitan. Chris, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. I'm always honored to do this and love what you got going here.
So before we get started, why don't you share a little bit about your background and what it is you do at ServiceTitan with our listeners?
Okay, yeah, great. So I think a lot of people probably relate to my journey just a little bit. I started as an HVAC tech in the industry and then had the entrepreneurial seizure and started my own company called Hunter Super Techs in Oklahoma, and was able to build a really awesome team there and grow that to 5 locations. And then in 2018, Hunter Supertex was acquired by Turnpoint Services, a private equity group that's now went on and is nationwide really as well. So after exiting the business, you can't just turn off that switch to want to do something and help and learn and share knowledge and so I was looking for, hey, what's next? So I've got a training company in Dallas called Go Time Success Group, but then also ServiceTitan played a huge part in my growth as a company. And I made a really great connection with the founders and a lot of people there. So they reached out and I said, hey, would you love to come on and help us, really just represent contractors and help people on our product team and really share whatever you can learn about best practices with other contractors. So it's kind of like a dream job, right? So I'm like, I'm in, I'm game. So I've been here for almost 3 years doing just that. And I'm actually in an industry advisor role now. So it's kind of like the dream opportunity.
That's great. So kind of getting into the Inflation Reduction Act, how exactly is the IRA influencing the plumbing and HVAC markets?
Okay, so there's a lot of buzz about it, right? So at this very current spot, it may seem like it's not influencing it that much, but I believe that's going to change. I think there's big things coming. So they passed the big bill. It's going to provide, $8.8 billion worth of incentives, that could be coming to help electrify homes and reduce energy and all this stuff. So there was a lot of buzz about when it passed. And then contractors were then a little bit confused, like, okay, what's next? Well, it turns out part of the bill is actually ready right now. And part of it, we're still waiting on for the states to roll out these rebate programs. So right now we're in kind of a limbo state, like anxiously waiting. But let me tell you how it's going to influence it. I think that it's going to create a significant opportunity for contractors that learn about it and they leverage it to really explode their business. They can use this time right now to start recruiting in, the labor force that they're going to need. Because here's the deal. I mean, you got to have the skilled trades have to be able to be in the home, install this stuff, learn how to fix it. So it's going to influence, the amount of people that we need in the trades pretty significantly as well.
So how exactly can contractors capitalize on the IRA to help grow their businesses?
Yeah, so several ways. So right now, what everyone needs to be doing is you need to be learning everything you can about it, because it's like I said, there's different buckets of this thing, and I primarily focus on the residential side. There's a whole element to this thing that we have construction and commercial industry advisors at ServiceTitan. They would be great to educate on that as far as all of the prevailing wage acts. There's an apprenticeship program. There's incentives for the different building components that's going to happen on that end. But what I've been really looking at is, okay, as a heating, cooling, plumbing, even electrical contractor, what does this mean to me? And really and truly, with the tax rebates that are coming, I think that is going to be the game changer. Because I mean, a person at my house right here, I could get up to $14,000 to replace my heat pump, my electrical panel, do some electrical wiring, replace my hot water heater. And that's not even counting the credit side of this thing, the tax credits, which are already active right now, where, if they install solar or do other energy efficient improvements, they could get that 30% tax credit. But I remember back in 2008, 2009, there was a tax credit out there. And I'm telling you what, for selling air conditioners and seeing what happens when I went into the home and I said, hey, here's a normal system, a base system, but here's a really, really good one that saves you a lot of energy. And oh, by the way, thanks to this package, the government's going to give you a nice tax credit on it. It was like a no-brainer. People could upgrade, get the higher efficiency stuff for the price of an entry-level system. Same thing is going to happen here, except for it's on steroids, right? I mean, they can get far more. Now, there is a lot of rules and things that are associated with this. So a lot of things to be learned. So that's why I'm encouraging everyone, hey, learn about this thing as much as you can right now and get prepared. And there's several different ways that we can get prepared to do that. But I'll touch on three really fast for you. So one is on your marketing side. This thing's coming. If you're curious about it, homeowners are going to be curious about it. So guess what? They're going to start Googling it. So why not start optimizing your marketing, your SEO, all of that stuff right now that gives as much information about it as you can. And then that way they'll contact your team. I know a lot of really successful contractors that are already doing this. In fact, if you just Google it in your area, you'll probably see the more advanced contractors that have already jumped on this strategy. And they're the ones providing all the tips and the amounts that are available and what's available in the credits and what's available in the rebates and what does that mean for them in energy savings. So take advantage of the marketing side. Two is the employees, right? I mean, we're going to need these team members, and there's a need now more than ever to start the recruiting in. We'll talk about strategies more on that here in just a little bit, but really put a focus even more so on the recruiting and retaining your technicians right now. And then the third is really leverage what your equipment manufacturers, they've got the info, right? They're loving what this thing represents. They know that it's going to mean, hey, you're going to sell lots of high efficiency equipment. So really strengthen those partnerships with them, because they're going to be the ones that can really help you slingshot this thing out there and get a head start on everybody else.
Yeah, so you've already touched briefly on the labor aspect of it, and I kind of want to dig a little bit deeper into that because, I don't have to tell you, the trades have already been experiencing an ongoing labor shortage for years. How is this legislation going to impact this already really tight labor market?
Well, a few ways, but one is they are going to need more people. They're going to need more qualified people that can actually sell higher efficiency equipment and install it and work on it. So this is where the best contractors out there right now, they're already doing these things. They're already creating their own trade schools. They're partnering with other training organizations, that will come in and train their teams on a consistent basis. They've put it a priority to budget for training and make this like a benefit of the company, to not just an afterthought of, hey, we got an empty day, let's do some training. They're very intentional about it. They got a full training plan, a training calendar. They're budgeted for it. So they're really taking advantage of maximizing those aspects of it. But you know what's funny? I mean, we always talk about the trade, the technician shortage, but there's a lot of companies out there that aren't having this problem. So I love seeing that. I mean, I was blessed at Hunter Supertex for a period of time. We had a waiting list of people that wanted to join our team, and we were in a little bitty town, 25,000 people. So here's what it really boils down to. It's maybe we don't have necessarily the tech shortage we think we do. Maybe we have like a leadership shortage. Somebody that's not casting the right vision, providing the environment that somebody wants to work in, and really focusing on our team, because we know if we focus on the team, they're going to go serve well. So it may not be quite as bad as what we're thinking. And then also, I'm also seeing a lot of contractors that are able to do more with far less, and they're doing this by leveraging technology like ServiceTitan. They're able to maximize the daily efficiencies, route the right technicians to the right call. They're able to streamline their marketing aspects to this thing. So they're able to do significantly more revenue per employee than we were a few years ago. That's for sure. So really encourage contractors to think about that. Do you really have a problem here, or is it an opportunity? And it starts with ourselves as the leaders. let's create the place that everybody wants to work at. And then two, let's build the team that can leverage the technology to make sure we're maximizing, the valuable assets that we have in this skilled labor.
That's an interesting perspective you bring up with, in regards to the leadership. Maybe we don't have the right leadership because you don't think about it. The leadership, if it's not there, that's going to make people leave. Like they want to go somewhere else where they can find a better job with better leaders, better management. So I just thought that was a very unique perspective, one I haven't really heard before.
Well, think about this, okay? So as an HVAC technician, I could leave my job today, drive right down the road and pick any company out there. And guess what? They're all going to say, come on in. I might even give you $1 more an hour or whatever.
Mhm.
So the goal of a company leader is to create that culture where guess what? They can leave, but let's try to make them where they don't want to leave. I recently visited Habakkuk Services out in Phoenix. Phenomenal shop. Lou Habakkuk's got a great organization going out there. But one of their KPIs that they measured was employee or tech retention. So the thought was, wow, we've got great people here. Let's see how well we're doing at keeping them here. And I may be wrong, maybe off a percentage point or so, but it was like 93% retention. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's less people they have to recruit. That's less turnover or lost opportunity dollars they have when someone leaves and they don't have someone to fill that void. So for them, they know it's all about culture. And I could go on this topic all day, but so stop me whenever you want. But with culture, it really comes down to having the leadership has to have a system in place to make sure that we're sourcing the right people, or we're doing the right onboarding so they know what it's like to work here. Then the processes in place to know how we're supposed to serve, the core values that we serve by. But ultimately, you got to ask yourself, hey, would you like to work at your own company, or would you rather go work at one of these others that you see? And if you don't like the answer, better go to work to change it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in your opinion, what can plumbing and HVAC contractors do right now to grow their workforce?
Right. Okay. So here's probably my favorite thing. I read this one time in a John Maxwell leadership study, but it talked about the bench. And I was like, okay, the bench. So with the bench, it's doing this. It's always growing those people. Like in a baseball analogy, you've got all your positions out on the field, the key players are playing, but you've got this talent you're developing that's on the bench and they're ready to step up when it's their time to go in, right? So I think contractors sometimes get a little too focused on, well, I might need a few more people, but the business may not be there, in the fall. So I better hold off and wait just a little bit. I think they need to go on offense and start to build this bench. And to do this, you gotta be smart about it. And this is where the technology comes into play as well. But if let's say you ran 2 technicians to a truck, you've got your senior guy, your mentor, you've got this person that you personality profiled, they met your core values, they may not have a lot of experience, but they're willing to learn, and you bring them on and you pair them up with this person in to a truck. Well, that's great, but that costs money to do that. That's okay. Why don't we budget for that and build that into our budget, so that way when we know what we need to charge in order to build this technicians of tomorrow. Another way that people can do this is through maintenance agreements or club memberships. I know so many that are so successful in doing this, and it doesn't mean you have to have 10,000 maintenance agreements, but if you have enough to where you can guarantee the shoulder season is filled with work, you're consistent all year round, it's a huge benefit because you can use these tune-up calls to kind of grow tomorrow's technicians. So think about it. They go out to your house, it's working. So it's not like they're under pressure to have to fix something. They can go in, they know it's working, they can clean it all up, they get to see all kinds of different components and learn about different things. If there is a small issue, they can always call back to a senior technician, and with technology today, they can FaceTime or look at the gauges that are transmitting the info back to the office, and they can fix things via just like that if need be. So those are a couple ways that you can do it. But the last is just always be recruiting. We talked about that fear of maybe not needing them right now, but you know you will in the future. When good people come your way, go for it. I never once have met a contractor that's hired somebody really good and has regretted it. They've always found a way to fill that void and to grow the business like that. So don't be scared. Get out of your own way and always be recruiting on them.
Okay. So, what are some tips contractors can use to prepare their future workforce or even their bench, as you said?
Yeah, so I think having that structure of the training calendar, the training plan, that is so key. So I'll give you a quick example. A lot of companies view training as, okay, this manufacturer said they'll come in and do some training. Great, let's let that happen. Or, oh, we've got an empty 2 hours in the morning because something got canceled. Let's talk about something. I'm not talking about doing that. I'm talking about being very intentional and growing a training program that, one, assesses your current team. So we know exactly what their skills are, what their weaknesses are. Then we build them a personalized training, schedule and calendar to improve. Two, we actually inspect what we expect. We see the results of the training. Did it work? Did it not? Are they actually using it? Because a lot of times they'll do that training, but then they'll never talk about it again, or they'll never go back and see, are they actually following the process? Something like that. So we got to be intentional about actually inspecting what it is. And then there's all kinds of training partners out there that you can partner with that'll come in and do this for you or with you. Those are great. Or some of the most successful companies are doing this in-house now. They're building their own lab. This thing don't have to be elaborate either. I mean, it could be 3 or 4 units. Maybe you pulled these units out of a house, you set them up there in the back of your shop, and you pull the top 20 repairs that your company does. And let's just get these top 20 things done right and make sure everybody knows these top 20, because 80% of the repairs are going to be those top 20 that you pulled. I mean, that's the truth of the matter. So why not train on those things? Make sure everybody knows them, lock, stock, and barrel, and you'll be in really good shape.
Now, I know a lot of contractors are kind of, creating their own apprenticeship programs to kind of, like you said, build that bench. What resources are there for contractors looking to create their own apprenticeship programs? I know many are like, they don't know where to start.
Yeah. So luckily at ServiceTitan, we even created the contractor playbook. So if you haven't checked it out, man, you can pretty much Google ServiceTitan contractor playbook, any topic, and phenomenal information will come up. And we're building one right now for even construction as well. But there's some great ideas in there about how to do this training program. There's also, I mean, any industry organization out there, there's ACCA, there's SMACNA, there's all these different ones that are out there. I mean, they're just as invested in your success. They want this to happen as well. So they've got a lot of great resources out there. Now, one thing that I will encourage you to do, like even with ServiceTitan and the technology is such a huge part of the day-to-day operations now, that don't forget about that in your training and your apprenticeship program as well. So include that software, that technology training in there. But also, if you check with your local states, okay. So let me give you an example in Oklahoma. So Oklahoma, the Chickasaw Nation has a big presence in Oklahoma. Well, guess what? They had a training program, a trade school, where they were building HVAC technicians, and then they would pay them to come work with us to get on the job experience. Can you imagine that? Someone paying somebody to come work with you. And then guess what? Once it was done, we had the option of offering them the job, or they could go back to the Chickasaw Nation and they would see if they could locate them another job. So there's all kinds of programs out there like that, but you don't know if you don't start to dig into it. There's some second chance programs, and then everybody should be getting involved with their local trade schools. Mm-hmm. Phenomenal kids are coming through these things, even the local high schools, and don't be afraid of starting young. Heck, I've spoke to fourth graders, just planting the seed, what life is like as an HVAC tech. So all kinds of great stuff like that. Even ServiceTitan, we created something called a day in the life and some shop tours.
Hmm.
These are phenomenal things to share on your social media and just to introduce people to, hey, what's it like to be an HVAC or plumbing tech, and then also some really successful business owners, what their life's like now after they've joined the trades.
Okay. Definitely good resources there. And you also touched on, technology briefly. Chris, how do you think technology can help maximize a contractor's existing labor force?
Yeah. So if you ever ask a technician, and the really good shops maybe not so much, but if you ask the majority of technicians, how many calls do you do a day? Well, most of them think, oh yeah, man, I do 6 to 10 calls a day. They remember those hard days, those hard times. But if you dig into the data, it's really like only 2.4 calls per day, or less than 50% of their billable time is actually being billed to customers. So there's a huge block of inefficiency with most contracting shops. I mean, whenever I go in to help a company and I look at it and we start to break this down, we're like, oh my gosh, really and truly, you don't need more technicians. You just need to maximize the calls that you're already getting, and then the days. So let's start with the calls. We found that the industry call booking average was below 45%. So think about this. If I'm wanting to maximize my technician schedule, keep them in a home for the majority hours of a day, it starts with the incoming lead, right? So, and if I'm not paying attention and I'm spending the money to get the phone to ring, but I'm booking less than 45% of them to a job, there's a huge, huge problem, right? The good companies are doing 90% or better. So you may not think about your CSRs and your call booking when you're thinking about efficiency and tech shortage, but you should, because this is the front line. This is where it starts. And then from there, I mean, technology and how efficient somebody can be dispatched, the right tech to the right job, knowing the customer's history, knowing who their preferred technician is. All of these things play a huge, huge part in making the day more efficient. And then also on the backside of that, most of the time when we go out, there's some opportunities left in the field. ServiceTitan has a phenomenal program to help follow up on all those opportunities that wasn't sold, and having somebody dedicated to making those happen can make a huge difference. When I introduced in my company the first year alone, take a guess, how many dollars do you think they harvested in the first year? Just by calling things that we gave estimates to, nothing sold, and we just moved on.
I would have no idea, but I'm sure you saw some great results with the follow up.
It was $1 million.
Oh,
I
wow.
about
Yeah,
I
that would have
about
been beyond
died.
my
I mean,
guess.
yeah. So the first thing I did was think, holy smoke, we just harvested $1 million that we left out there. Then the next thing I thought was, oh my gosh, we left $1 million that was that easily sold out there. If it wasn't for technology, we wouldn't have been able to harvest that, right?
Mhm.
So there's lots of things like that that can be done to really increase that efficiency year round.
Okay. What other ways can contractors increase their productivity outside of technology?
Yeah. Okay. So this sound like a broken wheel here, but I mean, going back to the training aspect,
Hmm.
so if you really want to maximize your output, you got to invest into your assets, right? You got to invest into your team, and you got to make sure that they're confident, that they're technically able. But then there's one aspect that the best contractors do that a lot of people overlook is their not just their communication skills, but their whole life skills. So think about this. If and this all ties together, I promise. But if somebody is struggling financially, they're having trouble at home with marriage or kids or family issues, when they come to work, guess what? I mean, that's tough, right? I mean, there's a lot of mental health challenges right now.
Hmm.
So the best contractors that dive a little deeper and they realize, hey, this is my team, my responsibility to build this culture, and in return, they will reward them by producing really well. But this also means helping them win at these areas of their life as well. So I'm seeing a lot of people do that, and it's making a major difference in their culture and their retention in their efficiency now, because now they're able to actually focus when they're at work, and just being really kind of a 360 view of your team, you know.
Okay. Well, that's about all the time we had today. Was there anything else in general that you wanted to add, Chris?
Oh, I mean, man, what a great time to be in the industry. I know this thing is called the Inflation Reduction Act, and the name even may change, but I just really want to encourage the contractors to watch and get prepared for this thing, because it really could be a significant springboard to not only your revenues, but your technician retainage. Everyone is really set up to, it's a win for the customer, and it's going to be a real win for the companies as well.
Okay. Well, thanks again for taking the time. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.